There we go. We're recording. So welcome to Painting Through the Pandemic. I'm Shauna Sue. I own Crooked Door Studio in lovely uptown Marysville, Ohio. We've been painting through the pandemic since our last class in the studio was Friday the 13th in March of 2020. Now we've had a couple small private parties since then, starting to ramp back up, especially with the governor lifting the orders the first part of June. We're going to get back in the studio. Pretty excited. While I throw that out there, we're not going to have a class the first week in June because I have another arrangement. We'll continue to do virtual. The second Friday in June, June 11th, I'll be in the studio, but not having class. That's when, if you order your merchandise through the Crooked Door store, that's open right now, and I can post a link to that in the chat here in a little bit if you remind me. That's when, if you're local, you'll be able to come in Friday night, June 11th, and pick up your merchandise and check out the studio and get reacquainted. And then the following Friday is when we'll start up having classes again. So we're getting there. It's happening. I didn't think this day would come, but it's very exciting. Okay, so if you would like to donate to the studio, your donations is what kept my small business, my small female-owned, female-run business afloat over the last more than a year, 15 months. Oh my God, it's been a long time. But your donations are what have kept us afloat and paid the rent on my studio. So we all have someplace to go back to in June. So from the bottom of my heart, I don't ever want to take that for granted. Thank you so much for helping this small business stay above water, right? It was tough, but we did it. So thank you so much. Okay. Let's run through our supply list before we get started. First thing, since I know you all are painting at home, I'm painting at home for tonight. Look around, make sure there's nothing in your immediate surroundings that you're super concerned about should you get paint on it. The paint that I'm using is acrylic paint. It's water-based, water-soluble. If you get it on fabric and it dries, it's a bear to get out. So let's take a moment, look around. With that said, also make sure you have either a paint shirt on or you have an apron. I have aprons in the merch store right now. Hey, Ange, yours is still in the cabinet. I need to just drop it off at your house, right? I need to just go like tuck it in your door. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Yours is green though, because yours is one of these. The new aprons are black with a white embroidered logo. Maybe you need both. I'm just saying. Okay. So I have my apron, I have a shirt on that I'm not concerned about if I get paint on. I've checked my surroundings. That's all good. Canvas. Tonight I have 16 by 20 stretched canvas. If it's what you got from the studio, it's what you have as well. Decide now if you're going to paint your edges. You don't have to, but I think it looks nice if you do. So if you're going to paint your edges, the way we do that, when you work your way out to the edge, you just wrap that paint on around. Okay. Yeah, that's what I know about that. We'll talk about orientation of the canvas in a minute, but start thinking about, are you going to keep your canvas vertical or are you going to flip it and go horizontal? I think this one works well vertical, but now's your time to try to make a decision on that. Okay. I have over here off to the side, I have some brushes. Let's talk about my brushes. Tonight, I have my big wash brush, right? Yours might be flat, angled, might be a different shape, but you want the biggest brush you have. Okay. This is going to be our big guy that does all the background work. I have a medium brush, right? He's a decent size. He's decent amount smaller than my big oval wash. Just some kind of a medium, right? That's what we'll do the rocks with. We'll play in the trees with that one a little bit. And then a round brush, a small pointy round brush that we can do detail work with. So I have those three brushes. And then I also have a fan brush. If you're looking for a good fan brush, let me know. I have a couple left at the studio, or I can email you the link where I got my fan brush from. Good fan brushes are hard to find. The ones that I like to use that are nice and coarse, they're stiff. A lot of fan brushes you get, they're too soft and flimsy. I almost said the petals, the petals. bristles. The bristles are too soft and flimsy, but I have some that have a nice firm bristle. So let me know. So I'm going to take my fan brush and lay it down. I want to keep him dry, but my other brushes that I'm going to use tonight, I'm going to take those, dump them in my water cup. So I have a water cup here that's halfway full with cool or cold water, never warm or hot, always cool or cold. And that's where my brushes are going to camp out, except for my fan brush. He's just laying off to the side. We don't want to get him wet. And then I have paper towels, couple paper towels down here to blot my brushes off on. Paint. Let's talk about our paint colors tonight. So I have, I'm just going to go right around here. Blockout white. Any white will do. A nice bright yellow. Orange. Bright red. Any red will do. Wasn't sure if we were going to use red or not, but I included it. I think it might be lovely out around the edges to get a little red in there, to get the edges nice and dark. And then phthalo green. Really, any green you have will work, but I like phthalo because it's pretty versatile. And then Mars black. So that's what I'm working with tonight. Again, yours may be different. That's okay, right? It's all about you. It's whatever you want to do, but that's what I have. Okay, now last but not least, let's talk about our inspiration picture for tonight. So this is my reminder to you that this is not my painting. This is something we found online that we really liked. And we're like, hey, let's learn from that. Let's see if we can duplicate it and learn and see how they did things, right? That's how artists learn and grow, right? So because this isn't my painting, mine's not going to look like this. Yours isn't going to look like this. Yours isn't going to look like mine. That's okay, right? It's going to be your version of this, which is just spectacular. That's the way it should be, right? You need to make this your own. So I'm already thinking about words that I want to put on the rocks. You might have different words. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes up. I might stick with those words. I don't know. But here's our roadmap for the painting. So we're going to start with our biggest brush, and we're going to do that nice big sun in the background. And we're going to expand out from there with our yellows, oranges out toward the edge. That's where I might get some red in there and get it really deep, a deep color out there at the edge. And then we'll come down a little lower than halfway. We'll start with the green, and then we'll finish off with black, where we're going to set our rocks. So once we've got all that big bold stuff taken care of in the background, we'll work on some texture in the green. We'll get some trees back there. We'll get to play with our fan brush a little bit for that. And then we'll put our rocks on, get some little grasses down there. We'll start getting in our little detail work, our little tree branches up here. Then the very last thing we'll do is put our words on our rocks. So you've got plenty of time to think about it. Okay. So with that said, I say we go ahead and get started. Look at 7-Eleven. I shaved 4 minutes off of our chat. Okay, here we go. All right, let's start with our biggest brush. Find your biggest brush in your cup. Tap that guy around a little bit, right? We always want to soften him up a little bit. Might have dried paint left over in there. He might be brand new, and he might have like a starch in him still. So let's go ahead and tap, tap, tap. All right, let's dry that guy off. Now, as I look at our inspiration picture, the top a little bit lower than half. Not half, maybe like two inches or so, maybe 3 fingers, 2 or 3 fingers lower than half. That's where our sky is going to be. And then we're going to put some ground or some green in here, and then some ground down at the very bottom. So I'm already envisioning that my sky will come down to about here. So my sun, it's going to be pretty big. If you're on a 16 by 20 canvas, it's going to be about the size of a plate, right? So I have my big brush. I've dried it out. Wipe it off. I'm going to take a big old chunk of white. Now, this is my reminder to you that anytime you take paint, we always go in the edge, never the middle. You always pull paint from the edge. I'm going to start with just white. And I don't know, maybe 3 fingers from the top. Is that a good measurement? This is going to be hard for you to see, but I'm doing this all in white. Okay, about the size of a paper plate. I'm going around and around and around. I'm filling it in. Now I know I'm going to want a little bit of yellow in there, but I'm going to paint it white first, because I really want the white to dilute the yellow that I'm going to put on there. Make sure that guy's filled in. Some people, when they paint, when you're painting white on white, you're like, how can I tell if it's filled in? Sometimes you have to take it and get a different angle on it, look at it in the light differently, see how the light's shining on it. And that's how you know you've got it completely filled in. Okay. So I'll give you another minute or so to do that. Again, I'm about 3 fingers from the top-ish. It's a really general measurement. But again, it's about as big as a paper plate. Everybody breathing? Everybody, big deep breath, let it out. Oh, big exhale. It's been a long week for a lot of us. It's been a long year for a lot of us, right? But this is our chance to relax and breathe. All good. Okay, so I have my white sun on there, and I've made it bigger than I think it's going to be in the end, right? Bigger than I think it needs to be. It's not going to hurt it to be bigger. And I'm going to start into my color, and I know my colors are going to be super duper powerful. So I'm not going to rinse my brush out. I'm actually going to take a little more white. Okay. And I'm going to start with a tiny bit of yellow, just a little bit right there. And where that sun is wet around the edge, I'm going to squish in some yellow. Now, this is where you can put as much in there or as little as you want. I just want some lovely swirls. I'm going to leave mine pretty white. I just wanted to get couple little swishes of yellow right around that edge. It's pretty. Okay. Now we're going to keep going. We're going to keep working our way out from there. We're going to use some more white, maybe a little more yellow. Then we're going to transition into orange and then red at the very last. The more white you use, the more pastel it's going to be. The less white you use, the more bold, vibrant it's going to be. Through this whole sky process, we are not rinsing this brush out. Don't rinse it out in between colors. We're going to go right from one color to the next. That's going to help us blend. And I'm keeping in my brain that my sky is going to come a little lower. Trying to get my hand straight. Little lower than halfway. Just a little bit. Not quite 2/3. Just a little lower than halfway. So here we go. I'm going to take some more white. Maybe a more yellow this time. Bigger swipe of yellow. Oh, pretty. Make sure you're using enough paint. I see a lot of people when they paint with acrylic paints like this in this style, they don't have enough paint on their brush. And they fight trying to move that paint around, that tiny bit of paint that they have. So get a bunch of paint on your brush. Get it on that canvas and move it around. From yellow I'm going to go to white and then orange. Look at that. I have white, yellow, and orange all on my brush at the same time. Ooh, that orange is powerful. Let's talk a little bit about blending. When we do something like this, it will have a tendency to go from white to a stripe of yellow to a stripe of orange. If you want more of a softer transition, you take your new color. I'm going to get close so it makes sense so you can see. So I have orange and white on my brush, which is my next color after yellow. I'm going to start out here in this new section. And then I'm going to gently go back down into the yellow a little bit, picking up some of that wet yellow, and then back out into my orange, into my yellow, and back out into my new section. That's how we get that nice, soft blend, right? If we don't work back up into that yellow a little, we'll wind up with a big old, like a big stripe of orange. So I want to blend it a little bit into the yellow a little and back out. That's one of those things that takes time and patience, and you have to learn how paint works. And just when you think you know how paint works, you'll paint in a different environment where it's either too cold and the paint never dries, or it's too hot and the paint dries too fast. Just one of those learning things. But give it a try. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to work my orange all the way out until all I have left are those corners of sky. And that's where I'm going to add in some red. So I've got orange and white. And when I get all the way out, that's where I'm going to add my red. I keep adding little bits of white in there because I like what that's doing. I like the look that's giving it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I like the look that's achieving. Something else that I do that I don't even really notice I do, but I think it's probably helpful for me to point out. When I'm painting something like this, I'll use my brush skinny ways a lot instead of using it fat ways. If I use it fat ways, I'm likely to have a mark where I put my brush down and I pick it up. But if I use my brush skinny ways, I'm less likely to have that. And then I also paint, I like to imagine like a pendulum. I won't put my brush down, drag it, and pick it up. I'll kind of come at it, sweeping, touch down, and back up. So I don't have those marks where I put it down and pick it up each time. And I say pendulum, it always makes me think of a pendulum on a clock, right? So if I'm painting, I'll come in, I'll touch down, and I'll pick it back up. So it's not down, across, and up. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. but that's how I keep from having those really hard lines as I go around. Okay. And then out here at my edges, well, I'm gonna add some red. I'm gonna do it. I'm not afraid. Ooh, blend it into my orange a little. Oh, that's pretty. Remember, your goal is to go a little lower than halfway. And have you decided, are you going to paint your edges? If you have decided that, yes, you are going to paint your edges, let's get on out there. Take whatever that darkest color is, get out there, paint those edges. Easier to paint them now than it is to try to match them up later. Oh my God, Ange, I just saw what shirt you're wearing. That is old school, dude. Did you order a new one? Okay. Let me finish painting these edges here real quick, and then I will put the link to the store in the chat box, and then I'll explain how the store works. That's pretty. Okay. Trying to decide, I feel like I might, that's awesome, Ange. Trying to decide if I want a little more yellow in there in my sun. I think I might want a little more yellow. So I'm done with my sky. I've gone completely out to the edges. I think I'm going to go back in and add a little more yellow. So to do that, I'm going to rinse my brush out really, really good. And I'm going to use clean white and a tiny, tiny bit of yellow. You don't have to do this. I feel like mine needs it though. Ooh, more white. There we go. Yep, that's better. I like that. Okay, so when you have this much done, brush and water cup. I'll give you another, I don't know, another 10 minutes or so. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the store in the chat box. How about 7:35? We'll come back together. I'm going to put the store in the chat box, then I'll come back and explain how the store works. But at 7:35, we'll be ready to move on to our next paint section. There we go. There's the link to the store. Okay, so 7:35, we'll move on. That still gives you about 7 minutes. If you're done with your sky, pop your brush in your water cup. We're just going to relax and chill for a minute and let that dry a little bit. Okay, so let me tell you about the store. So Graphic Stitch is a locally owned company here in Marysville, Ohio, where the studio is located. And they have opened a storefront just for the studio, and it's a very limited thing. The storefront is only open through the month of March. You go on, you place your order, you pay for your order, and then at the end of the month, they will take everything that's been ordered and send it to production. And then about a week later, around June 7th or so, all the stuff will be ready. So that's why Friday night, June 11th, that's the Uptown Friday night in Marysville. The studio will be open. I will have all of your product for you guys to all come and pick up then. And if you can't make it then, we'll arrange shipping, or I'll put it in the cabinet, in the supply cabinet, for you to come pick up. So go on and check it out. There's aprons, there's new t-shirts, which I don't even have yet. I'm super excited about it. There's wine sippy cups with the studio logo engraved in it. Super excited about that. There's a coffee tumbler, same thing, metal, that's like engraved, and a tote bag. So excited. You know, I'm going to be like a walk-in Crooked Door Studio promo, right? I'll have my t-shirt with my apron. People will be like, you aren't even painting. And I'll be like, mind your business, as I sashay away with my tote and my wine tumbler. So anyway, that's how that works. So go on, check it out, see what you like, but just know that the store is only open through the month of March. We may do something again this fall, but it's just open for a limited time, or through the month of May. Only open for a limited time. What you doing, Ange? What you thinking? I can't believe you put your studio shirt on. Shirt, tumbler, and apron. Solid decision. But you have your apron at the studio. Oh, dude. Oh, true. Yeah. I need to work out an arrangement with someone locally that embroiders. I'm messy too. I wear my apron. You know, I always get paint on my shoulders, right? Which an apron totally doesn't help with. I need to work out an embroidery with an embroidery person so we can have all of our aprons personalized, our aprons and our tote bags. And I think that would be spectacular. Oh, I was going to say something, and the thought train just left the station without me. Oh, Ange, are you doing the photo shoot with Ben? Do you know about this for Pride? It's next Saturday. Oh, I can hook you up. Yeah, just let me know what you need to know. I got you, boo. I'm doing mine next. He's doing sessions tomorrow at the studio, and then next Saturday at the studio. Yeah, that's what I know. That's what your shirt made me think of. I need to find my shirt, like your shirt you have on, so I can wear that in the photo. Dude, well done. Well done. I know. I feel bad. She asked me if I wanted to sponsor, and I don't have that kind of extra studio money right now, you know? It's been a rough year. So I was like, that's okay. I will support where I can. So I think he's going to come. He's going to bring the photos. Well, they're going to have them at Pride. June 5th, and then he's going to bring him to the studio on June 11th also. Oh, I would love to wear a button. I will absolutely wear a button. Are they ally buttons? Don't know. Okay, that's fair. Got you. Okay. You need to help me figure out what to put on the chalkboard when I have my picture taken next Saturday. He said we can write our own messages. I know. The struggle is real. You didn't even have to say anything, and I saw your face. You're like, I don't know. It needs to be something, since I'll have my studio shirt. We have one more minute, by the way. Since I'll have my studio shirt on and I'll have a pride flag behind me, it'll be like everyone's welcome, all are welcome here, no judgment zone, something like that. Okay, one more minute. We're going to get ready and move on. We need green, little white, and some yellow for our next step. And I'm not worried about clean water, clean brushes. You can use dirty water, dirty brushes. Okay, 7:35. Let's move on, shall we? So you can see I didn't round, or I didn't flatten out. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim. I hope you feel better. We absolutely should. Maybe that will be our June 18th, our first class bag. Right? Don't you think? I know there are people in Marysville that want to burn me down anyway, so why not? Right? I like your thinking, sir. Well done. Okay, so here we go. I didn't flatten that out because I'm okay with the green coming up a little bit on the sides. I'm okay with that. I'm thinking now too, where I want to set my rocks. I want to set my rocks on black ground. So I think about three, maybe 4 fingers up from the bottom, that will wind up being black. So the section between my 4 fingers at the bottom and my colorful sky, that's all going to be green. Now it doesn't have to be just green. I'm going to use a little phthalo green, a lot of phthalo green, maybe a little yellow and a little white. This is not our finished green product. We're going to mess it up and do some trees and other stuff later, but we need to get that base on there. So find your big brush, tap, 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 rinse it off or dry it off on your paper towel. And it's okay if there's a little color left over in there, that's okay. But I'm going to take some green. I'm using phthalo green, which is a very, it's a very bluish green. It's a very turquoisey green. So phthalo green, and then I'm going to take, always in the edge, remember, a little yellow and a little bit of white. Green, yellow, white. And again, about 4 fingers across the bottom. That's going to be black, so I'm not concerned about there down. But I want to go ahead and put my green in that white section that's going to remain. Oh, edges. Don't forget your edges. If you have decided to paint them, don't forget them. Again, phthalo green, little white, little yellow. Okay, so now Angie's adopted son, you need to come up with something for us to paint on June 18th. Start shopping the Pinterest. Something I've done before that was really popular was a flower, like a daisy flower. The whole canvas was a flower with colorful petals that like went the rainbow all the way around. And then we wrote like love is love on the petals. That's something that was really popular. So think about it. Do you like it as your idea? And now that you have given me this idea, you're in it with me. We're in this together. Green, yellow, white. I want this to stay pretty dark, so you may wonder why I'm adding white. I'm adding that tiny bit of white, not to lighten the green, but to make the green more opaque, to make it more solid. The paint that we use, the student grade acrylic paint, is really transparent, meaning you can see right through it. You can see every brush stroke. Even if I try to paint like a pendulum and swoosh in and out and turn my brush sideways, you can see every little brush stroke. But by adding that tiny bit of white, that makes it a little less transparent, makes it more solid, just gives it better coverage. So I've taken my green down to about 4 fingers from the bottom, about. Remembering your edges. Ooh, flag pattern, paint your own flag. I like that. I like that. Let's keep thinking. Let's keep ruminating on that. Poor guy is never going to give me another idea, is he? Sorry. Sorry, buddy. Okay. So again, I'm not super concerned about what that looks like. I'm going to mess it up here in a little bit with some trees and some weeds, but I need to get that base level on there. So if I have, like, if you can see through my trees, if my trees aren't super solid in one spot, you won't see naked canvas beyond, right? You'll see colorful, canvas. Boy, Ange, I can't take my brain off of that now, right? I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, once you have your green on there, let's rinse our brush out and let's finish out with black. And you get to decide, is that going to be just straight across? Is it going to have like a couple little hills in it? Little mounds of soil? Up to you. So I'm going to take my big brush and clean it out, but it is just going to be black. Clean it out, dry it off. And black. Oh, that's fun. I picked up a little bit of that green. That's cool. And then when you've painted the bottom of that black, we will be completely done with our whole canvas will be covered. Okay, so I'm going to make sure, since I have decided to paint my edges, I'm going to get that bottom edge too. I've heard people say it doesn't matter if they paint the bottom edge because you'll never see it. We don't know that though, do we? Right? We may decide to hang this someplace later, like maybe in a stairwell where you walk under it. Man, that'd make you crazy. Thinking, had I just taken that extra 30 seconds to paint that bottom edge. So if you have decided to paint your edges, let's go ahead and get that bottom edge too. And then brush and watercolor. And I'll give you a few more, how about 5 minutes? Because we want to make sure we got all of our edges. We want to make sure our whole background is covered. So 10 till, we'll come in and we'll work on some trees here in the background. We'll get some weeds in there. And then we'll start to place our rocks. So about 5 minutes, you're going to need a little more green, a little more yellow, a little more white. About 5 minutes. Oops. There we go. Well, yes, Emily, I am in your brain. Do you like how I just crept in the side, said that, and crept back out? Oh, goodness. Oh, it's a little warm in here tonight. Whew. I opened all the windows because it's so lovely out. And then because the sun is not cooperative, where in the room that I paint in, I pulled all the blinds. Yeah, I may need some hankies or shirt, you know. I do carry, Rhonda, do you know that? I carry like old lady hankies with me in the summertime because I sweat. We don't even call it perspiring because it's just gross. I sweat. So I carry old lady cloth hankies with me. I haven't busted them out yet this year. I think we're good, Kim. I'm sorry you're in pain tonight. I'm sorry about that. But maybe you can go back to the recording later. And I'm glad you joined us just to pop in, just to hang out. It's about 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. You're going to need some more green, some yellow, some white, and your fan brush and your pointy brush. We're going to play. Sorry, I was just reading your comment, Kim. I think once a week is probably enough. Oh, and spectacular. Thank you. I'm thinking all the things now. It's my thinking face. Ooh, the cold bandanas. Nice. Nice. Okay, Ange, if we do that as a fundraiser, where does the money go? Okay, good call. I'll have to look. I wonder if it's Kaleidoscope. I wonder. Not Kaleidoscope. Okay. I want something like Marysville, Union County, like something super duper local. It is a Kaleidoscope. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably about as local as we can get. Mental Health Recovery does a lot of work with Kaleidoscope. I like it. Okay. It is 10 till. Set my drink down. I don't know why I'm like working it like that. Anyway, set that down. Okay. So we're always keeping in our mind the direction that our painting's going to go, right? So I'm thinking about at this point where my rocks are going to live, like how many rocks I'm going to have and where they're going to live. If we look at the original painting, there's that rock that sits right down on the bottom, right? They're going to be pretty big. They're going to be pretty wide. They're going to cover at least the middle third of the canvas. And then my top rock is going to come up about the top of it, about to the middle of where my sun is. Excuse me. Now, I mention all of that just so we can start to plan where those are at, so I can figure out where I want to put my trees. If we look at this original painting, there's a tree over here and then a shorter one, and then two over here that are close to the same size. One's a little taller. And then just lots of smushy, weedy stuff down in there. Nothing real definite. If you're super duper nervous and you've never painted a tree before with a fan brush, what if you put one right in the middle, knowing you're going to cover it up with rocks, right? I'm not going to do that, but you could do that if fan brush trees make you nervous. I'm going to go ahead and do two over here and then two over here. And my outside trees are going to be pretty in line with the edge of my sun. Let me show you how I'm going to do a tree. Let me show you start to finish how I'm going to do a tree. Watch this whole process first, and then I'll do some up closer so you can see. So I'm going to start with my pointy brush, and I'm going to put the backbone of my tree in. So I have my pointy brush with some green, and I'm giving myself a road map for where that tree is going to live. And then I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to load it up with green, maybe some yellow, white also, but lots and lots of green. And that brush is loaded up with paint. And then I'm going to come down a little bit, leaving that point. And I'm going to tap, tap, tap. That tree is so skinny to begin with. I'm just using the corner of that brush. I'm not using the whole brush. As I start to work my way down, I start to use the whole brush. Tap, 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 tap. All the way down into the greenness. Okay. That's the whole tree start to finish. So backbone, and then fan brush. What do you think? Does anybody need to see that? See the fan brush up close again? We good? All right. Okay, so I've got one there. I'm going to put another one. Remember I said my trees closest to the middle aren't going to be any closer than, they're going to come down like from the edge of the sun. Doesn't do me any good to move it over further because the rocks will completely block it. Shorter one there. And I'm using my fan brush dry. The only time I will wet my fan brush is if I have to completely switch colors or I'm completely done using it. A fan brush, if you leave it camp out in the water cup, like the other brushes, the bristles get really, really soft and they don't do what you want them to do. And then they chunk and they turn into like fingers and you get like polka dots of paint. I want it to stay dry and stay nice and fanned out and even the whole way. That's another reason I use a decent amount of paint. The amount of paint I use helps hold that fan together. If your fan brush isn't holding together, try using a little more paint. Bringing yellow, white. Keep them super duper skinny to start with. These are really tall, skinny trees. Just for giggles, I'm going to get up close and personal one more time with another tree. So if you need another really good look, and then we'll have this in the recording too. So if you need to go back and rewatch it, you can. So lots of paint on that brush. I'm leaving that point there, right? That's where you put the star on the Christmas tree. So I'm going to come down a little bit and just use the corner and give just a little tap. Boop. And then another little tap. I'm just giving little tiny tap, tap, taps. And as I work my way down, I'm starting to use the whole brush now. I will never really lay my brush down and I will never really turn it. It's going to stay pretty perpendicular and straight across the whole time. All right, one more. Okay. I'm going to give you some more time to do those trees, but while I still have the paint on my fan brush, I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to come in there with my fan brush and I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it the same way. Hold it the same way you would hold for trees, right? Hold it flat. And I'm just going to pull up and let go. It's going to help me put some little grasses down in there. So I set it down and I pull up and let go. Oh, that's fun. Just adding a little more interest down there in the bottom. So again, set it down and pull up and let go. So I want to give you more time for those trees. How about 10 minutes? How about 8, 10? No, you know what? How about 8:15? We'll have our trees done and dried. So we can come back and put our rocks on there. Okay, so that'll give you enough time to get your trees done and get to the blow dryer, because I want to lay those rocks on there with gray and I don't want to pick up any of this green paint. So 8:15, and if you're done and ready to move on, cool, grab a beverage, relax a little bit, come back, step outside, come back at 8:15. 8:15, we'll be ready to move on with a dry canvas. Okay. I'm just going back with a little bit of a little more yellow white on my fan brush and making those grasses a little more interesting, giving them another level. You can turn your fan brush and use it skinny ways too for grasses. So much you can do with a fan brush. But when I'm done with my trees and I'm done with those grasses, then fan brush goes in the water cup. So 8:15, that gives you 13 minutes. At 12 minutes. So at 8:15, we'll move on. You need a dry canvas, clean black, clean white, clean brush, clean water. Okay. So let's take this time. Let's do a little reset. Let's dry our trees with the blow dryer. And we'll be back in about 12 minutes. So clean white, clean black, clean brush, big and medium, clean water. Yeah, now that we're done, good question, Kim. Now that I'm done with my fan brush, I've done my trees and my grasses down there. I pop my fan brush in the water cup. I'm done with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash it out. When I wash it, I'll wash it under warm running water. Soap if you need to. You can use dish soap if you need to. And then lay it flat to dry. All right. So I'm going to go do all of those things and I'll be back 8:15. If that was a really good question, Kim. Do we need to wash the fan brush out right away? Yeah, when we're done with it, we'll wash it out. I've washed it out and I'm gonna leave it lay flat to dry so it will gain its shape again. But you can see when that fan brush gets wet, he starts to chunk and turn into fingers. And if I use it while it's wet, I'm gonna get like these polka dots, right? So I want to leave him, I want to reshape him and then leave him lay flat to dry. Now, if I have decided, ooh, I want to use them again, I need to dry them out as much as I can before I use them again. So I can take him and I can fold a paper towel over him and press the water out of him. That'll help him dry a little faster too. Not bending the bristles, but just folding that paper towel over the bristles and pressing them dry. And I'm going to go ahead and do that because I'm not 100% convinced that I won't use it again for some grasses down in the black. Just pressing the water out of him and then leave him lay flat to dry the rest of the way. So again, 8:15, we'll move on. Clean white, clean black, clean brushes, clean water, dry canvas. So I'm going to head to the blow dryer, making sure that these trees closest to the middle are dry so my rocks stay gray and not green. Oh, grasses again. Absolutely, Emily. Fan brush. Load that up with the same color as the trees, right? Some green, some yellow, a white. And then I'm taking that fan brush and I'm setting it down just like that. Get nice and close. Set it down and pull up and let go. Pull up and let go. I'm not really bending my bristles at all. And then you can also use it vertically if you want, right? Same colors, green, yellow, little white, and you can go vertical. Super fun. Oh, are you asking me a question, Mandy? Is Dad typing? Hi, Dad. With anticipation, I'm watching to see what you're typing. Oh, the link for the fan brush. Absolutely. Stand by. I will pop that in the chat box now. Okay, there we go. There's the link for the fan brush that I use, and that's the one. If you purchase fan brushes through the studio, it's a nice firm, aggressive bristle. Really like that. The thing to remember: the larger the number, the bigger the brush. So I would recommend. I think they have for that fan brush, they have a 6, an 8, or a 10. I would recommend. Thank you, Heather. I would recommend either an 8 or a 10. You could go 6 if you wanted. That's still a decent size, but I think an 8 is probably right where you want to stay, an 8 or a 10. But any of those 3 sizes will work. Okay, and off to the blow dryer I go. 4 minutes. Oh, I don't even think I need to go to the blow dryer. Nope. I talked long enough. I don't even need to go to the blow dryer. What's wrong, honey? You back in bed? Okay, 2 more minutes. Oh, so I see the question came across, how are the chickens doing with their new fence? So if you haven't joined us before or in quite some time, we have chickens, and I adore my chickens, but they became free rangers, and that's not cool here because in the summertime, I'm barefoot all summer long, barefoot. And when chickens free range, they poop everywhere. And there is nothing worse than walking out on your back deck and stepping in a pile of chicken poop. Tell Dad I said hi. Give him a big squunch for me. Hi, Dad. How's it going? Looking good. I'll get to see your face at the studio soon. Soon. Okay, so anyway, back to the chickens. So we decided to fence them in because I am not walking back out to my new fire pit that I put in last year and my new deck that we built last year and walking through chicken poop. That's just wrong. So we fenced them in. Everybody's doing really well with the fence, except every now and then somebody gets out. I don't know how yet. I need to set up a camera and figure out how they're getting out. I don't know if they're flying over. We have 1 minute, by the way. I don't know if they're flying over. I don't know if they're going under. I don't know if they're like magic, like twinkling their noses and just flying, just getting out. Who knows? But every now and then I will hear a ruckus over there. And it's because someone has gotten out and they can't figure out how to get back in. And all the ladies on the inside are tattling on them, telling me that somebody's on the outside of the fence. So they're doing well. But we have to figure out that now we stay on the inside of the fence. We're not free rangers any longer. It's a chicken's life. It's rough. Okay. So let's work on those rocks, shall we? Let's talk about how we're gonna finish this painting out. So let's go ahead and put our rocks on there, and you can see the rocks are different shades of gray. I love that the love rock is a little bit darker, right? They don't have to all be the same shade of gray. They don't all have to be smooth. I love that there's a really skinny one, like a shale there, right? That's just in between those two. But ultimately, my rocks are going to start on the black ground that we put in, and they're going to go all the way up to like midway through the sun. So we're going to put the rocks on there, do a little bit of shading, a little highlighting, and then we'll put some branches in at the top. We'll put some grasses in at the bottom in the black, and then we'll finish up with our words. So that's how we're going to wrap this up, okay? That's how we're going to finish this painting out. So make sure you have some clean black and clean white. Get a little more clean white here, because I don't want white that has any color in it. A little more clean black. Okay. So I think I'm going to use my big brush, and then I'm going to come in with shading and highlighting with my small brush. So I'm going to start with my rock down here on the bottom. He sits right on this black bottom. He's probably about 2 fingers high, and he's pretty wide. He covers like the middle third of the canvas. So I'm going to use my big brush, clean it out, dry it off. You use whatever brush makes you comfortable. If the big brush makes you nervous, move to a smaller brush. And I'm going to go half black, half white. Right. Half black, half white, right there. I'm not even completely mixing them. I'm going to let that happen on my canvas. So I'm going to do a rock that's pretty flat. About 2 fingers, about 2 fingers high. And I'm going to keep the top of him pretty flat. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's your rock, right? I guess he doesn't have to be flat at all, does he? You see people stack rocks all the time that are very round, one on top of the other, or I'm not even sure how they stay stacked. There you go. Rock number 1. And you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to paint a rock, shade it and highlight it. No, I'm not. I'm going to do all the rocks and then all the shading and highlighting later. I'm going to paint all the rocks on there first. Okay, rock number 2. Rock number 2 is a little bigger, all the way up to the green there. Thinking about the words that you want to put on your rocks. And are they big enough to accommodate the words that you want to put on them? Painting this one a little darker. And make sure you don't have any green showing in between, right? You want those rocks to touch. At least for balance, right? At least right there in the middle, they should be touching. If they touch nowhere else, they should at least touch right there in the middle. And then let's see, another rock. I'm going to go lighter gray, just for contrast. Let's see, it's going to be bigger and rounder, I think. Oh, he looks like he might tip over. Keeping in mind, right in the middle, that's where they should be touching. Make sure they're balanced. And I really like between 3 and 5, there's that skinny piece of shale looking rock. I really like that. And then last one, again, winding up about the middle of the sun. What does this one look like? Okay. Here we go. Rocks. Rocks it is. So when you're done, big brush and water cup. Gonna wait another minute or so here, and then we'll talk about shading and highlighting, right? We're gonna shade at the bottom of the rocks and we're gonna highlight at the top of the rocks, because we think about where our light source is coming from, right? Our light is coming from the sun. So it's gonna cast light on the tops of those rocks, except where you have another rock on top of a rock. That's why I was thinking, well, we could go ahead and paint a rock and highlight it and shade it, and then paint a rock and highlight it and shade it. If we did that, we would wind up with highlighting here, which doesn't make sense because that rock on top would be blocking that. This one's only going to be highlighted right here at the edges. So that's why I was like, ooh, let's stop. Let's think about this. And it's easier to do shading and highlighting while your paint is wet, while the rocks are wet, because we wanna put paint into what's already there and not lay it on top of what's dried. It's doable, but it's easier if the paint is still a little wet. So in the interest of time, now remember, if you're getting frustrated, if you feel I'm moving too fast, take a breath, sit back and chill a little bit, right? You can go back to the recording. As soon as class is over, I'll post the Zoom recording in the event so you can go back and watch it, okay? But in the interest of time, so we can be done by 9 o'clock, I'm going to keep moving. So I'm going to start by shading each rock. So I've gone to my medium brush. I have a darker color. So this one down here, I have a little bit of black. And think about where it would be shaded. It would be shaded right here along the bottom. So I'm going to shush a little bit of this dark paint, little bit of black right there along the bottom. I'm using that medium brush skinny ways, and I'm shushing. And that's nice because that gray is still wet. So I'm able to blend it right in there. Now I feel like I'm going to have a little bit of shading right there where those two come together also. So black, medium brush, little shush, side to side there. Just a little bit of paint, not much. See, same thing on this rock. Shading at the bottom. Little bit of shading there at the top where these two come together. It's hard to tell because that rock is so dark already. Just a little bit. A little bit at the bottom of this where these two come together. You can spend as much time or as little time as you want on shading. I think it's one of those little details that makes the difference in the long run. Okay. So shading at the bottom, shading where they come together. Once I'm done with my shading, we'll get some highlights on there, because wherever you have shadow, you have light. Okay. So I have my shading on there. I'm going to go ahead and add some light. So I'm going to rinse my brush out, that medium brush. And I'm almost going to dry brush this so I'm not laying that white heavy on top. I'm taking just a little bit of white on that medium brush. I'm going to use it skinny ways. And I'm thinking about where the sunlight is hitting. So it's going to hit this top corner right here. So right there at that edge, little bit of white and kind of fan it and fade it to nothing. Same thing over here, tiny bit. Fan it, fade it to nothing. Okay. Tiny bit of white, medium brush. Think about where the light is hitting. It's going to hit the top edge of this rock right here. Tiny, tiny bit of paint. So I'm starting at that outside edge. And then dry brushing it the closer I get down to the middle of that rock. Same thing over here. No light there in the middle, right? That's completely blocked out where those two rocks are touching. Remember, take your time. If I'm moving too fast, you move at your own pace. I know we all move at our own pace when we paint, right? And I know I'm a fast painter. So you go at a pace that makes you comfortable. You don't feel like you need to keep up with me, okay? You're in your own home, you can paint, chill, well into the wee hours tonight. Go back and watch the recording. If it doesn't make sense, you can always message me if you have questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Just thinking in the natural world where light would hit these rocks. And then I think the one on the top, I think all the way around that top. Oh, how do you message me? So I can put my email there if you want to copy it and paste it. I highly recommend copying it because it's a really long email and my name is spelled weird. I've had people message me or email me later or message me on Facebook and be like, hey, I emailed and I didn't hear back. It's because my email is ridiculous. So I'll put my email. Feel free to email me there. Or you can private message Crooked Door Studio. I'm the only one that answers that, so I'll answer you there. So I'm going to give you another few minutes to work on your rocks, on your highlighting, and I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat box. Oh, Julie, I'm watching what's going on there. Did somebody get in the paint? Somebody walk across the paint? I saw you like wiping. I couldn't tell what you were doing. And my immediate thought was, oh, how cute would that be to have a baby paw print like right on one of those rocks? Baby already has paint on them. Okay. Again, remember, move at your own pace, right? If I'm moving too fast, just take a breather, right? Relax a little bit. Come back and pick up the recording. I will post it on the event in Facebook as soon as we're done here. I usually get the Zoom recording like 5 minutes after class is over. So as soon as we end, I'll post it there. Okay. So don't feel like you have to rush to keep up to finish. Again, I know we all paint at our own pace. So take a big deep breath, but I'm going to go ahead for the interest of time and in the interest of keeping this finished before 9 o'clock. I'm going to keep moving. So I'm going to let those rocks dry before I try to put my words on. I'm going to make that the last thing I do. Let's go ahead and put some branches in at the top. Shall we? Let's do that. So it looks like there's 2 branches that come in from the corners. You can add them or not. It just adds a little something extra, leads your eye to the middle. Let's go ahead and do that. The branches are black because they're pretty silhouetted, right? So I'm going to use my pointy brush, clean it out, dry it off, make sure it comes to a really nice point. And I'm going to take just a little bit of black paint here, dragging it through, giving a gentle twirl, keeping my brush to a point. If your paint is, pro tip, if your paint is really thick, you might add a drop of water to it. So I'm going to get a drop of water on my bristles and go right there in the edge and thin that down a little bit. It'll help loosen your paint up and it'll flow a little easier. So I'm going to bring one from here that comes down just into the edge of my sun. Oh, that's fun. That one. Give him a couple little twiglets. Little twiglets. Again, this is just black with that pointy brush. Another one over here. There we go. Give those just a minute to dry. And then I'll work on putting some leaves on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go check and make sure the chickens made it in, right? I'll be right back and we'll put some leaves on there. Okay, so I've got my branches on there. I'm gonna put some leaves on. Let me show you the easiest way to do leaves. I'm gonna use my medium brush and I'm gonna use it skinny ways. I'm gonna use a lot of paint. So let's see, what color are my leaves? The leaves are really whatever color you want. It looks like there are some leaves that are black and some that are green. I think I'm going to stick with the same color I have down here, that green, yellow, white. So, oops, I need a little more green. And this is how I get paint on my shirts, right? I put a brush in and then I turn my head and I get paint on my shoulder. You'd think I would stop doing this. I won't. Okay, so green, I have my medium brush, green, yellow, a little bit of white. It's kind of a mess of colors. And here's how I'm going to do leaves. So I have all my paint on there. I'm using this brush skinny ways. I'm going to set it down and pull in ever so gently to the branch. Boop. 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 Setting it down and pulling in. I won't set it. I hate to say never because that's an absolute and I don't like absolutes and there's a time for everything. But for these, I won't set it on the branch and pull out. That gives you a fan look. And that's not what I'm going for here. I'm using the bristles of the brush to form the outside of the leaf, the outside edge. And I think as I do this, the way I did it down at the bottom, I'm going to do that, right? Maybe this time I'll take a little more, maybe a little more yellow white to add some fun contrast. They don't all have to be the same shade of green, right? Maybe this time just yellow on that dirty brush. So I'm playing in green, yellow, white, different combinations each time I load my brush. Oh, that's fun. All right, both sides. Make sure and get all my leaves over on that side too. If you've been with me before when we painted those wheat looking flowers, this is the same, it's the same technique, right? Loading that brush up with paint, using it skinny ways, pulling in toward the branch. If it were flowers, we'd be pulling in toward the stem. You know what? I almost said it. I didn't even mean to, and I almost said it. I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going out on a limb. Oh, I'm going to add some leaves that aren't even connected to anything, because that makes me happy. Who says they have to be connected to the tree? There we go. Okay. Oh, that's fun. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving. Okay. I'm going to go down and add some little grasses down here on this, on the black ground. Now we can go back and use the fan brush if we want, right? Like we used it in here, use it flat ways, set it and pull up. I might do that. You can use your small round brush if you want and do individual little blades of grass, little blades of weeds. I think I'm going to use my fan brush. Oh, where I cleaned him out and dried him off. He's all kinds of crazy, but he's nice and fanned out. So I'm going to go ahead and load him up. Green, yellow, white, just like I've been using all along. Green, yellow, white. I'm going to set it down here and pull up and away. Oh, that's fun. Fun. Ooh, right down in front of my rock. Some weeds down there in front of him. As much or as little as you want down there. There's no right or wrong here. But as I do this, I'm going to go back. Ooh, I added a little more white there to give that contrast a little bit. Add a little more yellow if I wanted. I'm going to turn my brush, my fan brush, and use it skinny ways and get some taller, skinnier grasses. Again, so many ways we can use that fan brush. Just go to town down there. As much or as little as you want, okay? And then the coup de grace. Our very last thing is to add our words. Now we can, when we add our words, you can sketch them. Something to invest in. I found these at Hobby Lobby. You can find them about anywhere. I shouldn't say anywhere. I haven't found them at Walmart or Meijer. You'd have to go to a craft store. But chalk pencils, right? Looks just like a regular pencil, but instead of graphite, instead of lead, it's white chalk. These are lovely if you wanted to sketch out your words before you paint over them. So that's one tip. I love these chalk pencils. I think like a pack of 5 at Hobby Lobby, I think is where I found these. They look just like regular pencils, but they have chalk instead of lead. So these are great to be able to sketch where you want your words to go. Just sketch really lightly. If you don't like it, you just erase it and start again, as long as your paint is dry. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, you could write it on there with your brush in water first to see if you like how it looks. Because if you don't like it, the water dries and it's gone. But you can kind of see it shining in the light if you write it on there with water first. So that's pro tip number 2. Number 3, I've seen people when it comes to writing on paintings, they want to write with like a paint pen or a Sharpie. And that's great. You can absolutely do that. But for something like this, if you're going to do that, you want something with a really fat tip, because a normal paint pen, it's not going to be bold enough for what we want to do. And I really like the idea of painting with the brush because it's going to give you larger, more uneven letters. And that kind of adds to what we're doing here tonight. Okay. So you can use a paint pen or a Sharpie if you want. I'm not telling you not to, but it almost makes your lines too crisp and too clean. And then very last, you're using paint. If you're using white paint, you're probably gonna have to paint them twice to get them nice and solid and bold. Okay. You can paint them once, but your paint might not be bright enough. You might need to go back over when they're dry with a second coat of white. I'm laying all of this out there so it'll be in the recording so you can go back and watch it later and be like, what were all those tips she gave us? Another tip when I'm putting words on something, I'll find the middle and start there. For example, if I'm painting faith, I'll count it out, Faith, the middle would be my third letter, right? Fai, so I is going to be my middle. So I would start with my I in the middle. And then I know I have my FA on one side and my TH on the other. That keeps me from starting my word and either running out of space or having it way off center. Okay. All of that guidance. I know I just threw a lot on you there, but again, it'll be in the recording. You can go back and watch. So what do we think? Faith, hope, love. It's whatever words you want them to be. My rocks are dry. I'm ready. I'm going to use my pointy brush. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to overthink it. What I will do though, I'll air write it first to see if I like how it's going to come out. I won't touch the canvas, but I'm just going to air write it. There we go. Oh, love. And I'm going to let it dry and then I'll go back over it. Love. Hope. And faith. All right. There we go. Got my words on there. I'm going to go back in and go back over them and make sure they're nice and bold. Because I really want them to stand out. And the beauty of this is if you don't like what has happened, paint them over with gray, let it dry, and then go again. All right. And you don't have to put your words on tonight if you don't want. If you need to think about it, absolutely can. I'm going to go ahead and get my second coat on here and call it. Ooh, I know how focused I am right now. Are you guys that focused? Is everybody breathing? Ooh, it's got intense here at the end. Ooh, because those words, that makes it, right? Right. So, whoo, with that, I'm going to call that done. I feel pretty good with that. That's a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and call it finished for tonight. The last thing you want to do, whether you plan on displaying this ever or it's going to go in a closet somewhere, I really think you need your signature on it. That way, when you find it later and you're like, oh, that's not too bad, I might hang that up. You want to make sure you have your name on it. So you can sign with paint or paint pen or Sharpie. Artists usually sign bottom left or bottom right corner. You can sign on the side of a stretch canvas. You can sign on the back if you prefer. If you sign on the back, never in the middle on the canvas, always on the edge where the wood frame is, right? You don't want to sign in the middle with a paint pen or a Sharpie and have it bleed through over time, right? That's just a bummer to have that happen. So that's the very last thing. Sign your painting. I think I'm going to go ahead and sign mine and call it done. I would love to see pictures of you with your paintings. So if you want to private message them to Crooked Door Studio on Facebook, I would love to see them. And then reminder, next week we are back to Saturday night. If you have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have ideas for June paintings, it will go up tonight. Yep, as soon as I end the recording, Tiffany, as soon as I end the recording, I'll put it on in the event on Facebook. I'll put the Zoom recording so you can access it there, okay? You just might need that weird password they give, but I'll provide that. All right, so from me, from Shauna Sue here in Marysville, Ohio at Crooked Door Studio. You're welcome, Tiffany. I thank you so much for joining me, and I will see everybody on Saturday night next week. In the meantime, you know where to find me. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.